Hello and welcome to everyone across the nation joining today's workshop on how to add tests. This workshop focuses on using CASAS eTests Online together with TOPS Pro Enterprise Online for manually adding or importing prior test results, in other words, results from paper-based tests, to your online database to prepare for web-based testing. This function is available for both basic and enhanced access. In other words, no TOPS Pro Enterprise license is required. Test records can be added by any user when access is granted to Enterprise to create test records with or without coordinator and or proctor certification. This is one of 23 complementary CASAS Online implementation workshops. You are not expected to attend all 23 as indicated by the Citrix online system. This is a training room set up to conduct all 23 workshops. We highly recommend attending as many as possible to learn about best practices, ask questions, and to become confident in using the online system. Online help documentation is available on our website under Training and Support, ET for eTests Help Documentation, and TE for TOPS Pro Enterprise Help Documentation. You will want to bookmark these as your electronic go-to resources, particularly under the ET Help Documentation, the eTests Online Guide, which provides the information covered in these workshops. Today's workshop covers section 8.9, and that is within the data management section of the guide for adding tests. This guide is updated on an annual basis as we prepare for our National Summer Institute, and I would like to encourage you, if at all possible, to join us for the 2015 National Summer Institute. We have information on our website. You can get to that from the home page, and we have a shortcut for the Summer Institute, the 2015 Summer Institute. This is a wonderful opportunity to network with others across the nation. Now, folks, before we get started, I want to be sure and point out the difference between the production server and the simulation server. The production server main domain address is etestsonline.org. I entered that information in the chat box. This is where you will be producing live data. You can access both CASAS eTest Online, as you see here front and center on your screen, as well as TOPS Pro Enterprise up here in the upper left corner of your screen. This TE is short for TOPS Pro Enterprise. We commonly refer to TE also as just simply Enterprise. When you first access Enterprise, you will be prompted to install. You can click the install, or if you don't, you will still be prompted to install if you click TE Client. Now, we have a simulation server that is available to anyone wanting to experiment and explore in a non-risk environment that will compromise your live data. In other words, you will find information you can access the simulation server, and you will find information on how to access the simulation server from Training and Support, eTests Help Documentation, Getting Started. We have several resources to assist you through the Getting Started process or the initial implementation steps, particularly or as well is this going live checklist. So this will help you to determine where you are in the getting started process. Here is the document to the simulation server. The simulation server is refreshed nightly, so you have the assurance of a fresh database at the start of any given day. And so keep in mind that that includes if you registered your computer one day, it will not be registered the next day. Whatever data you may have written to the simulation server will not be present the next day. The simulation server is also an excellent training tool for you to conduct in-house staff training. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started with our workshop. I encourage you to ask questions along the way. Don't feel as though you have to hold off questions. I'll do my best to monitor the chat box throughout today's workshop. And we are going to access or demonstrate using the simulation server, and I entered that address in the chat box as well. Notice the simulation server uses the main domain name of etestonline.org, and the instance of that is for directing you to Rolling Hills. Okay. Alrighty, 3 ways to access TOPS Pro Enterprise Online is either from the TE client, from a web browser, a TE icon placed in your system tray as I'm pointing to the bottom of my computer monitor, as well as a TOPS Pro Enterprise link that is automatically placed on your desktop when you initially install TOPS Pro Enterprise. So those are 3 different ways to access Enterprise. Now before we do, I want to take a moment and sign in to CASAS eTest to emphasize that tests, of course, new test records, or tests for that matter, whether it's pre-testing, post-testing, progress testing, whether you are conducting intake, or retesting students in the same day, or testing returning students that are returning after they've been absent from instruction for a specified period of time. So of course test records will be added to the online database through the CASAS eTests application for new, current, and returning students. Now, folks, there is a test results lister available. Both the students and the test results menus provide you quick access to the to the database shared with TOPS Pro Enterprise. For example, we are looking at test results. This, I believe, now, these are future dates here, just as an FYI. The Rolling Hills Adult School contains a complete data set for the current program year, which started July 1st, 2014 and ends June 30th, 2015. So that's why you see a future date here. Otherwise, this tests lister would otherwise be contained to the current day, which is April 1st. And let's see. Notice here there actually are no test results for April 1st. Test results begin on April 4th. So when you open the test results lister from CASAS eTest Online, please understand that it is displaying tests for the current day. This was an intentional decision for optimal system performance. Of course, you can remove that so that you can see all tests administered within the current program year, or specify a date range of assessments that you wish to reference. Okay, for example, I'll just do this right here, and we only have 1 test on this day. So please don't be alarmed when you open up the test lister and your lister may be totally blank or empty, and that just simply means you haven't administered tests, or tests have not been administered through CASAS eTest Online well, actually, I take that back. It's not just CASAS eTest Online, so I need to correct myself on that. This test lister, and I'm going to just refresh it by getting out and going back in. This test lister is a list of test records of all tests added to your online database. This includes paper-based tests, imported test records from, say, the CASAS eTest desktop application or an external source, as well as tests administered through CASAS eTest. So, in a nutshell, this provides you quick access to the database shared with TOPS Pro Enterprise, listing all test records. Notice, folks, that there is no possibility of manually adding a test record through CASAS eTest, and this is intentional. All data management, as a reminder, is done through the TOPS Pro Enterprise application. So let me go ahead and launch the TOPS Pro Enterprise application. here. Be mindful of the server for which you are attempting to connect. In this case, we are connecting to the simulation server. 4908 is the agency ID, generic login, and I'm connecting. Now there are three ways, let's see, I think three ways, we'll count them together here, to add test records or results from tests in your online database. The first, which I will demonstrate, and you can follow along if you have grabbed a copy of section 8.9 in your CASAS e-test guide, but from the records menu, select students and demographics. You could select tests, but just stay with me, folks, and you'll understand why this is the recommended approach for adding test records. First off, a student demographics record must exist in order for you to add a test record for that student. Those of you who participated in yesterday's workshop, if you recall, that in the, let's go to, let me just bring up this image. This image right here, whoops, wrong way. Remember, all child records, this includes test records, they are tied directly to the student by the student ID, or more specifically, the student demographic record. The student's demographics record contains access to all child records as they relate to this student and are tied directly to the student solely by the unique ID. So let's demonstrate here. I'm going to use South Campus as my example, and let's take, I'll just use, say, Rick, let's see. I'll just use the first student here, Rick Williams. So let me double click on Rick Williams to open up the detailed information for his demographics record. Over here in the navigator, you will want to select tests. On the right side, click New to create a new test record, or specifically to add a new test record. And this is the key factor in demonstrating this approach, because notice here the site is pre-filled in by the online system, as well as the current program year, as well as the student information. So you do not need to manually select this information. If you went this route, records and tests, and clicked New, you would have to select the site. It does fill in the current program year, which is beneficial, but then you would have to select the student. If you see the student here, select the student, or select the student from a lister. Okay. Going the route of through the student's demographics record, specifically because this test is related directly to this student, leaves less or little room for error, I would say. Assigning a class to the test record is not necessary in the enterprise database. However, this is optional to you for those of you who have a TE license and are tracking not only student and program outcomes, but also class outcomes, and are tracking students by their participation in classes. But it is not necessary to identify a class. You do need to identify the assessment date, and we're just going to use today's date as an example. Assessment type, this is pretty standard, so you really don't need to worry about specifying assessment type. Form number, you will want to use the drop-down arrow. That triggers a type to research function. So the recommendation is just go ahead and type the assessment form number, and the system will automatically query any possible matches for you then to select the match. Once you select the specified test form, then the assessment items grid will display, as well as giving you the option to apply a score override or to key in the item responses. If you have results from a previous test result, the quickest way is simply to do score override and enter in this case you do have to enter in the raw score. You can't enter in the scale score. So that's the only drawback on this. And I'll just take a guess and say 20. Once that record is saved, and you save at the top of the toolbar here, then the online system automatically populates the scale score. That's the minimum information on needed or required to add a student record. Now folks, if you prefer, well, let me back up. If this is the information you added, and the sole purpose of adding prior test results is simply to prepare the online system for the next test to be delivered through CASAS eTest Online, this is all that the system needs. If you are adding a record for the purpose of generating, say, a student competency performance report, then you would need to key in the item responses, because reports reflecting how the student performed on the test cannot be generated if you are doing a score override, because of course there are no item responses to identify the competencies and content standards. Our basic bottom line is to identify the areas of greatest need. Okay, but so if you're simply wanting to pre-populate your database, prepare it for web-based testing, simply add the assessment date, identify the form, do score override, enter the raw score, save the record. That's all that's needed there. And just to prove my point that CASAS eTest is now prepared to administer the next test, I can go to Reports, CASAS eTest, Next Assigned Test. And to do this quickly, I'm simply going to identify the specific student by looking at the population here. I'm going to go to Site 2 to help further minimize my list. Whoops. I'm sorry, I can't do that there. Let's see here. I can do it up here. There we go. Okay, and let's see, it was Rick Williams. Let's just put here. Nope. Richard. Oh, Richard. Okay, sorry about that. Thanks. Okay, I'm just generating this for one student. We're not going to bother about general settings right now. I'm now going to generate this to show you that the system already now has assigned the next test. So Richard Williams is ready to take his test via CASAS eTest Online. The test that will be presented to Richard Williams is Form 83R from the Life and Work series. Now let me just pop over real quick to CASAS eTest Online here. And let's just refresh this here, and we'll let's select site. Is it South Campus? Let's take out this date here. Can we take out this date? Yeah, we can. All right, let's query those results here for student name. First starts with Richard. Okay, notice here Richard Williams has the test result. Now disregard this, he actually had another test in there, and so this doesn't quite make sense, but just this is for demonstration purposes. So here already is the information in the shared database that you see here, test results, as well as in the students menu. I can do likewise. I can select the site, or if I don't select the site, if I don't know at which site Richard Williams may have his student demographics record, I can just simply search on, say, first name, query the database by clicking refresh, and here's possible matches. And here's Richard Williams. I can click on tests over here and see the same information, his last test. Now if I launch CASAS test online, and I don't have my machine registered, but if I launch CASAS test online, trust me folks, 83, his next assigned test, 83R, will display on the test menu. Let's see here. Well, you know, actually, I think it might be worth doing that. Let's just go ahead and quickly demonstrate that. I'm just quickly registering my machine at the South Campus. And I'll pop over to CASAS test online here. Go to testing sessions, and let's say post-testing. We'll go ahead and start. Acknowledge my maximum supervisory hours. Oops, I'm sorry, that's at the North Campus, forgive me. Oops, here, let's copy this. I'm at the South Campus, so you can only use stations that are at the campus. Oops, and I misspelled CASAS, forgive me on that. All right, and if I refresh, let's see, Richard Williams's ID is 005. Okay, let's copy this down, 005208242. Okay, let's see here. Continue. Richard Williams, yes. Zip code. The system is detecting missing information. As you see, the check marks and pre-filled information doesn't need to be changed, but it's giving Richard Williams the opportunity to update information if needed. Okay, and well, here's reading test form 83R. If I had backdated that test, this test button would be active, but hopefully you can see this on your screen. It does in fact say form 83R, but because we recorded the test results for today, there is a default built into the CASAS test online system that prohibits administering a test of the same modality in the same day. So had I have backdated that test results, which would have made more sense, but I can tell you that anytime after today in the future when Richard Williams does come to test, he will get form 83R. All right? Okay, let's go back here. Now, that's one way, manually entering the test record. Another way, folks, is let me go ahead and clear the slate here. I'll go pages and close all pages just to clear my screen. Okay, I can go to Tools. There is a third-party import wizard. Oh, excuse me. The second method I would say is scanning. If prior test results perhaps were entered on a TOPS Pro Enterprise Scantron test record sheet, and you are equipped with a scanner, then by all means that information can be scanned in. So we'll consider that as the second method there. Let's go to the third method, third-party import wizard. If you have an external source that is able to export test results in in an importable or a file that is importable into the online system, then you can use a third-party import wizard to bring in test records from a third-party system. Now, and the thought here is that when you bring in test records from a third-party system, the student record must pre-exist. Remember this diagram here. A test record, the system will create a test record with a student with an ID, but there's no other information. That's not the recommended approach, folks. That if you are bringing test records in, or results from tests into your online system, the ideal here is that the student record pre-exists before you bring in and attach that test record to the student. All right? So I'm going to pause here for just a moment, and I'm actually going to bring in the student records. Let's kind of roll it back for just a moment and consider the remainder of this demonstration as a way to help you pre-populate your database with test results so that the student record will be present in your online database. The last test that the student took will be present so that the next time the student is tested, you can use CASAS eTest Online. So those of you who participated in yesterday's workshop, I demonstrated how to import student records. I'm going to simply grab that student import file. Here's fillable templates here. I'll just quickly display this, and we'll share this with anyone wanting to pre-populate their database. I don't have time to explain this in detail, but we do have directions on this first sheet. So let's say that this is the information that we want to import into the system, Sample Sam and Susie Student. So we have to save that as a CSV file format. This is the preferred file type to import into the online system. You need to close the file. So just continue through these screens. And then in Enterprise, through this wizard, select that file. All files are, there's no errors that display at the bottom here, so this is good news. Let's go ahead and click Next. Next again. We'll quickly add the student records first. And let's show you that those student records were added. We're going to select South Campus. And let's do sample. Now keep in mind there's no activity attached to the student, so the student's record is generic, so to speak. So we have to remove the current program year filter. And notice here we have Sample Sam. We have another Sample Sam. The Sample Sam that we imported in, and folks, I have this prepared for the next workshop, which is merging duplicated student records, so we'll go through that. But the record we just imported was this one right here, Sample Sam, with this ID number. We also imported a record for Susie Student, and that record that we just imported is this. So these are the records that pre-existed. All right, I'll go ahead and double click on, say, Susie Student here as an example. Now let's go ahead and take the test records import fillable template, and these are the IDs for Sample Sam and Susie Student. These are the programs that the student is enrolled in, and these are the results from the last test, and we are doing a score override. So I'm going to save this as a CSV file format. And go through the steps to close that file. Now, just before I import this, I just want to show you that right now, this particular record is missing an in current program years record as well as the test record. There are no tests. Now let's go to the Tools menu, Third Party Import Wizard. Select Test Records from a third-party system. CSV. Browse for that template. There are no errors. Let's go ahead and import those files. And this should be finished in just a moment here. Okay. And now let's go ahead and refresh this screen. And now you will see that the test results have been imported for Susie. At the same time, and in a current program year, oh, I guess it didn't create the program year record. Okay. No, I'm sorry. It did. I just needed to refresh the screen. Because this, having imported the tests within the current program year, simultaneously added an in-program years record. Let's go ahead and I'll remove. Let's actually close this tab. Let's go back into the student demographics record. And now if I bring up Susie student, her record will automatically appear because it'll automatically appear in the current program year. Now, Sample Sam, I forget if is that his ID. Let's see. Nope. I think it was this one here. Sample Sam. Also, he now has an in-program years record as well as his test record here. Okay, and the same information for those students, of course, can be referenced here through the Students menu. Let's just do a quick ID here. Refresh. Notice here Sample Sam was imported, the record as well as his test record, and the same will hold true for Susie's student. All right, folks. So there's essentially 3 methods for entering test results into your online database. One is manually, second is scanning, and third is through the import wizard, third-party import wizard, whether you have a file from an external source or you pre-populate a template. And then I guess if you added a 4th one, well, not really, but test records, of course, are automatically added through CASAS eTest Online. Now, these templates, folks, they are not available on our website. Let's see here. Let me just go over here. I can't remember honestly whether we added them under TE Help Documentation, Data Exchange, Third-Party Import. Now, tell you what I'll do, folks, is I will zip all of these fillable templates together. I'll include them on the website. However, I'll go ahead and send you the zip file directly because I add additional information about these files. So I'll go ahead and provide that to you. All right, folks, with that, that ends today's workshop, or this workshop here. The next one following up today is on merging duplicated student records. So let's take a short break and we'll reconvene in about 20 minutes. Thank you so much for your participation. Any further questions before we sign off? Let's see, I've been asked, do you need the form number or session number for the test? You do need the form number, the assessment form number, in order to, and these are just CASAS test results that I'm demonstrating to import in. So the form numbers are, most test form numbers should be entered with a leading 0 if they are two-digit numbers. We have some test forms that have 3 digits. Okay, and so the minimum information for a fillable template, if that's what you're referring to, is what you see here, this example. So 083R, it needs the modality at the end as well. R for reading, L for listening, M for math. Okay, and notice the test date here does not have any dashes or slashes. So there's unique information here, and this is quite a lengthy template that you could literally key in the students' individual responses. That's a lot of work, folks, and I would say that that's generally not necessary, unless you are looking to generate results from testing, reports for those results. If most often it holds true that agencies are importing this information for the sole purpose of preparing the online system for the student's next test. And for that, I would just leave it with the minimal information, simply so the system will set the next assigned test for you. All right, folks, if there are any other questions, don't hesitate to contact me. I'll put my email in the chat box, as well as the email for our technology support team. We have quite a lot of members who make up that team, and sending emails to techsupport@casas.org will simultaneously notify every member on the team, so you have greater chance of receiving a timely response if you correspond with tech support rather than any one of us individually. But don't hesitate to contact us individually, though. We would love to hear from you. All right, thank you, folks. We'll see you back in a short bit.